I've tried a lot of apps and other quick fixes to find more focus by simplifying my digital life, but nothing gave me the sustainable change that I was looking for until I re-examined the philosophy behind how I use technology. I don't know if I would call myself a strict minimalist, but I'd like to share some things that I do to be more minimal with how I use my tech. To me, minimal doesn't mean getting rid of as much technology as I possibly can as my main objective. I think it's about taking the time to think about what you value and your longer-term goals, and then working backwards from there to keep only what supports those things in a meaningful way. What I find really useful is to set what author Cal Newport calls standard operating procedures, defining when and how I use certain pieces of technology. For example, for checking or replying to work emails, or for using online learning platforms for workshops and courses I'm taking, I always keep it to only my laptop during focused blocks of time that I set aside for it. That way I get the benefits the technology and being online bring, but I'm able to better set boundaries to help me find balance and reduce some of the downsides. When it comes to things like messaging apps, it can be really hard to stay connected to family and friends nowadays without using technology. And especially in the past few years, it's a bit scary to not be quickly reachable just in case. So I don't believe in turning off all my notifications or completely deleting my messaging apps. Instead, I set my priorities based on people and relationships I value rather than focus my energy on limiting my use of specific apps or services. I have a very, very short list of people who can always reach me right away, but aside from this list, most other messages and notifications just stay as badges on my phone, and I only get to these messages when I set aside time for them. As I've gotten used to this, I felt less of a compulsion to be notified of everything right away and accept that I'll just get to some things later. My phone's home screen is pretty bare. I've trimmed it down to just the apps I find essential since I can always swipe or search for the ones I don't use often if I need them. The other thing is I have no icon for Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. The truth is I deactivated my personal accounts on all of these platforms around 5 years ago. I do have accounts under pseudonyms without any friends added to be able to do things like purchase from small local businesses that transact only on these platforms or look at interest groups only on Facebook. I know this approach is maybe not practical for everyone. I did have to adjust by putting together a calendar of my friends' birthdays so I can greet people personally without Facebook reminding me to. But over the past few years, I've found great joy in interacting with people directly instead of through comments or on a feed. Looking back, I've been able to cut out a lot of what you could call noise from my life. I highly recommend at least taking a look at how you use social media and consider letting go of social media use, which may just be a distraction or not add too much value to your day. My desktop is even more bare than my phone. I really just try to be mindful of what I keep on it, mostly files I'm currently working on, and then I back things up and file things away when I'm done. I extend this idea of choosing with intention to which devices I use or which features of them I use. For example, for some things I find writing by hand to be the most natural and to work best for me. But when I went digital with my handwritten notes and annotations, instead of getting an iPad, which would seem like the default choice, I went with an e-ink screen that looks like paper, with a simple intuitive interface, and features for note-making and annotation. I find this works best for me because I still get benefits of going digital, like features for being more organized, but it still feels like using paper rather than using a tablet or being at a computer. I think it helps to look at tech and decide not just what could work for you, but what would work best for you, so you can just take those features and functions and leave the rest. What I want to mention is that for me, this isn't about efficiency in the sense of trying to fit as many tasks as absolutely possible in my days. It's no coincidence that aside from digital minimalism, Newport has also been developing this idea of slow productivity. Part of that concept is changing the scale from just focusing on what you can get done in days or weeks to asking yourself what meaningful work you want to achieve in the next few months or in the next few years. This paradigm, alongside much more mindful use of technology in my day-to-day life, have helped me make more space and time for doing focused work on what really matters to me. and to balance that with adequate rest and with time spent doing things offline with people I care about. I would love to hear more about the minimalish things you do in your own life, so please feel free to share in the comments and subscribe to the channel for more discussions on productivity and purposeful use of technology.
This is the first step. You need to make sure that it's clean, so you run it without a problem.